Zane Navratil, benched. Wang Yun, terminated. Pablo Tellez, given the bird. And the Dallas Flash, well, they just might be unstoppable. We'll be breaking down the Edward Jones Major League Pickleball mid-season tournament at the Beer City Open. We've got a lot of ground to cover, a lot of narratives emerging from this one, so let's not waste any time. Go ahead and throw me a like. Dink that subscribe button. My friend told me I should say that. I don't think it worked. We're never saying that again. Let's roll the intro music and get after it.
Thank goodness for Matty Pickles.
And alongside Matty Pickles, I'm Michelle McMahon.
Well, first of all, I can't even believe I'm standing beside you, Matty. This is hard for me. Is that Matty Pickles?
Matty Pickles.
Matty Pickles.
Matty Pickles, what's up?
Usually you have a canine.
Basil, here we go. Very good.
What do the charts say? The numbers, what do they mean?
Random charts and stats.
He's crushing the statistical analysis stuff is sick, too.
This is absurd. This is so stupid.
The world's worst pickleball player, but he's got a really good podcast.
The only pickleball YouTuber that I actually watch.
To start off, let's take a look at the Thursday results, and there was really only one notable upset. In fact, there was only one upset, period. It was the Miami Pickleball Club taking down the LA Mad Drops. Now, Miami was without Jay DeVilliers. His wife's having a kid. Congrats, Jay. And LA was without Wang Yun, formerly pronounced Quang Duong, by the way. We've all been just butchering that for the last couple of years. And LA is going to be without him for quite some time. His contract has been terminated by the UPA. They got tired of him running off to Vietnam and doing clinics or fan meetups or playing in tournaments. Whatever he was doing, they didn't like it, so he's out. A lot's been made about this. Was this fair? Is it an overreaction? I mean, clearly there's more to the story here. We know he's a repeat offender of this, I guess, because remember, he was already suspended for this. He missed a few matches in MLP Phoenix. Now they've just cut ties with him entirely. I'm sure we'll hear his side of the story in the coming days or weeks. But either way, it kind of stinks for LA, a team that has just had absolutely terrible luck with roster continuity. You may also notice down here, we have just a ton of subs. There were so many subs, which kind of stinks. I mean, maybe takes a little bit of the shine off of this otherwise great event. But don't let that deter you. There's a lot of really good pickleball. Let's go ahead and move on to Friday. So as expected, the top three seeds, 1, 2, and 3, the Dallas Flash, the St. Louis Shock, and the New Jersey Fives all managed to advance. But that last spot, 4 and 5, Brooklyn versus Columbus, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Brooklyn, especially if they get healthy and they get Deckel Bar back. But even if they don't, I mean, AJ Kohler is absolutely cooking. Let's go ahead and just see how this one went. In women's doubles at 10-8 game point, the Brooklyn pickleball team. Wow, I can't believe I'm still messing that up. They had this sitter, Rachel Rohrbacher, cannot put that away. Would have sealed the deal instead. Well, that would prove to be costly. At 8-10, Leah Jansen going to unload a couple forehands, eventually going to force the error. Then Paris Todd leaves this one a little high, but she is ready on the counter with that forehand. And Columbus would go on to take a 1-0 lead in this quarterfinal match. And the good news for Brooklyn fans, they've got another game where they have a game point, this time at 10-6. But the bad news for Brooklyn fans, and hey, channel member Jake Gelvar, if you're watching, maybe fast forward a few minutes, because this Andre Diascu backhand flick would set up a CJ Klinger overhead smash. That ball is out. That is one game point defended, and on 10-6-2 into the net from Riley Newman. 6-10-1, CJ Klinger thinks about poaching, and the second time he doesn't let that one go by. 7-10-2, the comeback march is on. Look at this little flourish from CJ Klinger. He kind of shows the paddle before he shows the speed up. At 8-10-1, some incredible defense from Andre Diascu.
Oh my, off the hand.
And these moments are always funny to me because when you do play it off your hand, if it's going that fast, you've usually got a mark to prove it. CJ Klinger ducks out of the way. However, they're not out of the woods yet. Another game point for Brooklyn. The Riley Newman drop is just wide. He doesn't think so. They challenge it, and yeah. Hey, how about this replay? That's not too shabby, and that is definitely out. Eventually, Columbus able to earn a game point of their own, able to work their way up to the kitchen And after this speed up from Andre Daescu, a few overheads, they are now up 2-0 after facing game point down in both of the first two games, and there's just no coming back from that for the Brooklyn Pickleball team. They were dispatched in short order in mixed doubles, a 3-0 sweep, but man, it really could have been something. So there you have it. Columbus would be the fourth team to make it into the semifinals. But before we move on, let's take a look at the consolation bracket. Carolina 0-2 in the EJ MLP MST. That's right, we're abbreviating it again. Just like last year, it was the ATR MLP MST. This year, it's just slightly different. EJ MLP MST. It really rolls off the tongue. But yeah, Carolina 0-2. However, as we saw on that last slide, Edatuya Anatoa was not present for whatever reason. So, I don't know. Maybe you can't really take too much away from this. Elsewhere, SoCal, they're still not a good team, like don't get me wrong, but they're really fun to watch. These youngsters they have on the women, Kaylin Campbell, Jelena Ingram, they might have something there. Now before we move on to the rest of our featured matches, we're going to have real clear stats breakdown of all the semifinals and the final and the third place match. I do want to just give you the opportunity to become a Basil Buddy. For $1 a month, you can become a member of this channel. It supports me, what I'm doing. You get exclusive access to Basil the Dog vlogs and content. You can message me directly about any pickleball charts, questions you have. You could probably already do that. And you also get these cool Basil the Dog emojis in chat, also badges next to your name. So thank you to my 7 members right now. You are greatly appreciated. With no further ado, let's dive into semifinal Saturday. We picked this one up with the Columbus Sliders having an early 3-1 lead. However, we know the Dallas Flash, they can get hot in a flash. And one of their biggest strengths is it is just really hard to put the ball away against them. There you had a few overheads, and all of a sudden the tables have turned. Georgia is able to get up to the kitchen, attack in transition, and finish it off. There's Tyra Black pulling the trigger on a speed up and finding a clean winner, another speed up. And since we'll be taking a look at the Real Clear Stats data report after this match, I want to use this rally to highlight a few things. Now here is a Hurricane Tyra Black backhand flick. That is a speed up. It is also a firefight initiation, and they win it, so that counts as a win. Leah Jansen was the target, so that goes as a counter loss for her. Paris Todd also gets credit with yielding an opportunity, and Hurricane Tyra Black forces an error while Leah Jansen commits a forced error. A few rallies later, it is Paris Todd with the speed up and the firefight loss after the Georgia Johnson counter, but after the end change, this one was flipped on its head because of the remaining 11 firefights that would be successfully initiated. Columbus would win 10 of them. Leah Jansen would initiate 9 firefights, 3 would be harmlessly reset, they would only lose 1, and they would win 5 of them, including this one right here after a few counters. A missed return from Georgia Johnson will set up a game point for the Columbus Sliders, and then we see Paris Todd absolutely take over. She initiated 8 firefights in this match, and they won 7 of them, only losing 1. Columbus Sliders with the upset in Game 1. And a big reason for that was the firefight initiations like we saw there. Paris Todd and Leah Jansen not only were the more aggressive team with more initiations, they were just incredibly successful. Hurricane Tyra Black was the target of choice, although Georgia saw her fair share of counter attempts as well, but Hurricane Tyra Black did not get a single win when she was targeted. Leah Jansen did have the lower player impact plus. Paris Todd carried by this metric, but that's just because Paris Todd was the one finishing off rallies. If we take a look at the shot accuracy, we see they actually played a similar level of unforced errors and forced errors, but Leah Jansen did do a tremendous job in her setup role, creating 10 opportunities. That's the shot that led to a rally winning shot and only yielding 5. We jump into men's doubles amidst the longest rally of the game at 47 hits, and this is representative of how teams have been playing J-Dub and Augie. Augie in this game saw 68% of all the touches, and here, what a lob there. Almost looked like a foot fault from Klinger. He drags the toe, but it doesn't matter. 8-8 now. Dallas Flash gets the ball back. And while this was only one of 3 unforced errors committed by Andre Daescu, it certainly did not come at a great time. Now here's another one I just want to talk about for a second so we can see what data we're collecting. This will get logged as a speed up attempt, a speed up error. It is not a firefight initiated because it was unsuccessful, and it does get logged as a unforced error, and there are no opportunities created or yielded associated with it. And in contrast to the speed up error, there we have a speed up winner. There's an opportunity created, yielded, a speed up, and this is a clean winner. And even though that wasn't an egregiously bad dead dink from CJ Klinger, over the course of these matches, these opportunities yielded and created will just kind of tell us who's hitting the shots that the other team is able to attack.
What a shot from...
And on game point, we get an unforced error from CJ Klinger. In fact, he only committed 3 of those as well. And as a team, the Sliders committed fewer unforced errors than the Dallas Flash did. They just were not nearly as successful as generating offense, whether that be clean winners or forcing errors themselves. The margins were very tight in this one, and ultimately, if we look at the kitchen contention, we can see that Dallas was just a little bit better at getting there and more successful when they did arrive at the kitchen. Perhaps thanks to Augie Guh, who took 18 of the 22 third shots and sent 72% of them back to the returner. So we get to 1-1 in this match, just not quite how we expected. Now, I'm not going to do a full breakdown of these mixed games, but I have linked the Real Clear Stats data report in the description here, so your homework is to get in the comments and let me know what you saw in these 2 games. How did Dallas Flash close this one out? What were they successful with? What was their strategy? Let me know what you think.
The undefeated Flash are looking now to add another.
The decision to go with Mari Humberg over Megan Dazan looked like a questionable one early as the St. Louis Shock women got off to a 6-1 lead. I mean, coming in so rusty after not playing together, that's not an easy ask. And the other big strategic element is that Mari Humberg forces Annalie Waters over to the right side. And if you're building your team around Annalie Waters, I don't know. I feel like you want her on the left. You want her being big. You want her taking up all of the court. Now, on to the actual pickle at hand. Anna Bright's been throwing up a lot of lobs in some of these games lately. Maybe just something to keep an eye on. However, eventually, the decision to go with Mari maybe not looking so bad after all, as New Jersey Fives are going to get hot here after Annalie Waters creates this opportunity for Mari Humberg, and she seizes it. Here we get the pressure from Annalie Waters going to cause an unforced error from Anna Bright. And on the next rally, or a few later rather, again, just coming over looking to poach from that right side, gets into a chaotic rally. And hey guys, what do you know? Annalie Waters on the left here. Let's see how this one pans out.
Look at this slice and dice. And they've got.
But regrettably, down the stretch in the final 10 rallies, things came a little bit unglued for Mari Humberg as she committed 4 unforced errors in the final 10 rallies. But all of that could have been avoided if New Jersey just could have found a way to close out this absolutely epic rally that had just, I'm going to shut up so you can watch.
And that's why we love women's doubles right there. Game point down, Anna Bright.
Look, guys, I know Dave Fleming can be a little silly sometimes, but he got me pretty hyped there. Here on 10-10, the comeback is officially on, and we get a net cord winner. That's a winner off the net. Sorry, not sorry. Shout out Chris Callie. But ultimately, yeah, we talked about it earlier, the unforced error from Mari Humberg, and a lot was made about this. What is being said here? You can do some lip reading. I'm not going to speculate. I'm sure other people will speculate. Again, maybe go check out Chris Callie's video. I don't know. This would be the prevailing narrative that would come out of this event for the New Jersey Fives. Do they have a team chemistry, a team fit, some bench chemistry, locker room issues? Whatever you want to call it, it's hard to look at the 9 unforced errors from Mari Humberg, including the 4 down the stretch that we talked about, and not wonder, was this a winnable match had they gone with Megan Dazan? Now, part of the conversation does have to include, this is her first game back. Getting thrown into the Wolves against Anna Bright and Kate Fahey, that's a very difficult ask. It has to be part of the conversation. But still, until they made a move, which we'll talk about later, the narrative coming out of this was not that good for a team that is going to end up finishing in 3rd place.
And they do it. St. Louis, I know you're not shocked, but I'm in awe.
And hey, look, I'm a homer, so I want to talk about the Texas Rangers for a little bit, so we're going to do that. And, Texas Rangers had a game point there. Caitlin Christian hit a 3rd shot drive into the net on what was a game point, a chance to steal a win off of the New Jersey Fives women, who were back to their original lineup, Megan Dazan and Annalie Waters, by the way. Ultimately, they would lose that game, only to then have a 10-6 lead in men's doubles. Here as they look at one of the game points, where Eric Onson's just almost has this walk-off winner. If he just connects on that, this was just one that absolutely got away. Could have been a sweep. Instead, it's going to end up being a regulation loss. Very disappointing for Texas, but Texas is a team, as we'll talk about in a little bit. I do think they have more positives than negatives from this event. Also, we do have to talk about this electric Challenger League final. Now, we don't cover a whole lot of Challenger League on this channel. In general, it's just kind of in a weird spot. Feels like it's in limbo, almost a holding pattern this year. We have 6 teams. They do a round robin 5 times, plus a midseason tournament, plus a playoffs. So these teams are very familiar with each other, but nonetheless, this one was an instant classic, so we will give it the attention it deserves, and it got pretty spicy here, starting with a high speed up from Michelle Esquivel, maybe a little bit of words exchanged there from Pablo Tellez after that one. Now, this match is tied up at 1-1, so this is a crucial mixed doubles 1, and here Pablo Tellez just deep. And just a little something extra on that out call from Michelle Esquivel. Las Vegas with the game point, and Zoe Wong is going to try to solo Marshall Brown, get into a firefight right in the middle. Marshall Brown able to find the put away, lets out a little bit of a yell himself there after that one. A lot of emotions flying in this Challenger League final. I absolutely love to see it.
Michelle Esquivel lights up.
And hey, how about this instant replay? It feels very cinematic. Shout out to the MLP production staff for that one. A few rallies later, after a missed reset from Michelle Esquivel, Marshall Brown can't even get the ball exchanged properly, and we have another opportunity for maybe some light trash talking. Can't really tell what was said. Michelle Esquivel is telling them to bring it on, and this is a game point for the Las Vegas Night Owls on the serve of Pablo Tellez. And, I mean, we were building up to it. There was only one way this one was ending. We get a middle finger. And we also get no paddle taps from Pablo Tellez, and Marshall Brown get a little air handshake with the ghost opponent there. This would go to a dream breaker, though, and here we go. And look, I've talked about this a lot, and I've got some hot takes about how I would make some small tweaks to the dream breaker, because your men typically get to go 3 times each, and your women typically only go 2 times each with the meta we have settled in on. And that's a pretty big deal here, because if you're Nashville, all of a sudden you are off to a red hot start. Your men are absolutely taking control. And what that means is that your women just kind of need to, not get blown out, and your men will have a chance likely to close this one out in their 3rd go round, unless, something crazy happens. And kind of as expected, the Las Vegas women able to kind of claw their way back into this one. Here we get a little bit of mini tennis, a lot of baseline ground strokes, but the Las Vegas women would get the ball back to the men with a 2-point deficit. However, we know how lopsided it was in the first go-around. Pablo and Marshall did split it in the second go-around, but man, this thing just flipped on its head. Pablo Tellez was feeling it. He was getting the crowd into it. He was working the benches. And that's why I said I would only make small tweaks to the Dream Breaker, because, man, these things, they still slap. They still hit. When it's a good Dream Breaker, is there anything like it? It doesn't matter if it's Premier or Challenger. And so after struggling in the first couple go-rounds, the Las Vegas men not only got the ball back to their women for the 3rd go-around, but they actually took the lead, and Brooke Buckner, down the line winner. Las Vegas Night Owls are your mid-season champs. And as we take a look at the bracket, you might notice, I don't know what happened here. They had too many games on the original bracket they tweeted out, and they eventually fixed it, but still, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. And that brings us to Championship Sunday. Let's take a look. So here we are in the championship match, women's doubles to start us off. We have a 3-0 lead for the St. Louis Shock, but that is as good as it would get for them. There's an Ernie from Hurricane Tyra Black. Okay, how about that? Dallas Flash would score 11 straight to close this one out. 11-3 victory. And I mean, Hurricane Tyra Black just played phenomenal. 98% accuracy, 2 total errors, only 1 unforced error. Take a look at the player impact plus flow. Definitely not the cleanest game from the Shock. And if you recall in that semifinal match that we talked about with the Columbus Sliders upsetting the Dallas Flash women, Tyra Black had a lot of struggles with the counters. In fact, every time she was targeted, it was either a reset or a loss. That was not the case in this one. She was targeted 6 times on speed-ups, and they won 5 of them. We'd be tied at 1-1 heading into mix, as the St. Louis men would get a win over the Dallas men. And to be honest, of the 4 lineups, the St. Louis men really feels like the best matchup for either of these teams. And then, in my opinion, the other 3 lineups have a slight edge in favor of the Dallas Flash. JW and Georgia were able to dispatch of Anna and Big H, which would set up a potential dream breaker. However, not looking too good for Gabe and Kate. They trail 6-9. However, they were able to close that gap, and we were treated to just an absolute treat of a mixed doubles match with so much on the line. Dallas was the first team to reach 10, and they would have a pair of match championship points, but Gabe Tardio would slam the door on both of those. One of just 4 unforced errors from Hurricane Tyra Black across both of the games in this match would tie things up at 10-10, but a clutch cross-court speed-up from Hurricane Tyra Black would force an error off of Gabe and get the ball back for Dallas. Now look, there's never a good time for a missed backhand dink into the net, but at 10-10-2, that's definitely not one. And then Hurricane Tyra Black, who else, closing it out. For how good Georgia Johnson's been and all the hype she's getting, Hurricane Tyra Black might actually be the MVP of the Dallas Flash and of Major League Pickleball.
The Beer City, what a magnificent match and what a performance.
So that's a wrap on the action, but don't go anywhere because we have got a ton of storylines to navigate. And stick around too if you're into my charts, because yeah, we'll be doing some charts. The first and biggest takeaway is, will Dallas Flash complete the undefeated season? Can anybody beat them? Well, yes, I think somebody can beat them. It just doesn't mean somebody will beat them. They've been tested before. Texas Rangers even had them at 20-20 in that Dreambreaker, so they can be beat. It's just you have to play pretty much out of your minds and be almost flawless to do it. Moving just one step down, is this only a 2-horse race? Are Dallas and St. Louis the only legit contenders? And taking a look at my updated power rankings, I definitely am of mind that they are the top 2 contenders, but I really do still think that New Jersey has a chance. And that's before we even talk about the trade that New Jersey has made. Consider that New Jersey, if they just close out that women's doubles game against the St. Louis Shock, all of a sudden, we're probably in a Dreambreaker situation in the semis there. Who knows how that goes? They've taken Dallas to a Dreambreaker earlier in the year. To make things more interesting, they have traded their sub Craig Johnson and cash for Noe Cliff of the Miami Pickleball Club. Now, based on the reaction to this and the take that Zane posted in his video, which, by the way, go check that out if you haven't, it seems like Noe Cliff is going to get the starting job going forward in place of Mr. MLP and team captain Zane Navratil. Now, it's truly commendable the reaction that Zane Navratil has had to this. I think very highly of him, and I think you should too. The dude just wants to win. He's a team-first guy, and that is why he has had so much success at MLP. And you never know, we might see him suit up for the 5s again. As we've seen in this event, there were a ton of subs getting action, and players have had to miss events for all kinds of crazy reasons. The narrative for New Jersey kind of flipped after this trade for me. It came away from the event like just wondering, are there issues? What are they doing? Coming away with the bronze medal would probably be a moral victory for just about any other team, but they very clearly have higher aspirations than that. They were so close last year that anything but getting to the final and really challenging at the top just feels like a letdown. Also, MLP, they kind of pulled an MLP on us and hit the snooze button on the trade deadline. It was supposed to be Wednesday night, but in light of new things, they are pushing it back. Presumably, these new operational details are that one Challenger League team this year will be promoted to Premier next year, giving us 17 Premier League teams, which feels weird. 17 is a prime number. Not a whole lot of sports leagues with a prime number of teams. You can't really divide into divisions. And that also means Challenger League will have just 5 teams, which, hey, that's another prime number for all you math nerds out there. And, I mean, Challenger League is just like, already, the match this week, yeah, that was a good match, but it's kind of hard to get up for. These teams are playing each other so many times, and next year with only 5 teams, I don't know. It's a whole thing. But moving along, I do want to also talk about the Texas Ranchers and revisiting this trade. Now, I may have jumped to a little bit of a conclusion after just watching one match. I did walk it back a little bit in the replies, and a little bit further, and a little bit further. But did GM Pickleball Ryan DeWidgeon, did he cook again? Texas went 4-2, and they were supposed to be getting worse at doubles, and they didn't even have to go to a Dreambreaker. Now, before the Columbus game, you could have argued, yeah, but they beat the teams they were supposed to. They lost to St. Louis, the only real contender that they faced. So how is this any different than kind of where they were before? Good enough to beat, the other pretty good to bad teams, but just not quite in the same tier. The win against Columbus, however, a 3-0 sweep, that feels pretty good. Maybe Columbus coming out of the semis into the consolation bracket, kind of coming off a down note versus Texas coming through the consolation. Maybe that's a factor, but I don't know. Taking it at face value, that's a great result, and they were right there with New Jersey in the bronze medal match. So I think, again, just something to monitor here, but early returns on this trade are looking pretty good for both teams, to be honest. And lastly, I just want to talk about just generally the ring culture around sports in our society and how this kind of ties into the EJ, MLP, MST. Did this whole thing actually matter? Yeah, there was some prize money. Yeah, there were some points awarded at the top. But do we actually care about midseason tournaments? In the NBA, I really don't. It feels a little forced, contrived. The courts they play on are hideous. But for pickleball, for MLP, I really like it. Maybe it's just a testament to the job that Andrea Koop and the team in Grand Rapids have done building up the Beer City Open. So maybe the EJ MLP MST and the ATR MLP MST last year were sort of borrowing that credibility. But I've really enjoyed both of these midseason tournaments. I think there's a lot of fun potential here, and I think we should care who wins. I'm not saying we treat it like winning an end-of-year title, but I think there is still a little bit of prestige for this midseason tournament. So here's a quick look at the rest of my power rankings. We've kind of talked about a lot of these teams. I think that Brooklyn and Columbus and Texas can kind of be shuffled however you want, but I did come up with this order. I almost did put Columbus at number 4, and apparently this is a very controversial take. Director of Content Alex Lance at The Kitchen shared this, and Leia Jansen and Matt Manassi kind of went after him. I will say, I do think Brooklyn, especially considering that they haven't been fully healthy, is the most underrated team. Taking a look at a few of my charts, we can see that they are right up there with the rest of these teams, including slightly better than Columbus overall in doubles point differential. And most of that is without Deckel Barr. Rachel Rohrabacher, probably another name that we really need to consider for some kind of MVP or at least like all first team or all second team honors. It's a very competitive field for the top women, but they have really started to pick up in women's doubles in Brooklyn, and mixed doubles continues to be a strength. Her and AJ Kohler, who's not even officially on their roster, they're 10-2. Dropped LA down with all their uncertainty into the C tier, as well as Orlando. It just feels like both of these teams, if we take a look at this chart, have one gendered doubles unit that is just a weakness. LA's men's and Orlando's women's. The rest of these teams feel a little bit more well-rounded. Now, I made this power ranking too before the trade. Now, remember, Noe Cliff no longer on Miami. So I think we can probably call it a season for them, which does leave 2 playoff spots. Will it go to the Utah Black Diamonds? Probably. But now that 10th spot, you've got Chicago right there. And guys, Ben Johns can still sneak his way into the playoffs. Crazier things have happened. And if they get in there, well, I don't know if crazier things than that have happened, but I mean, it's Ben Johns, you know? But also it's Ben Johns at MLP. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to picklekey.com. This is a great resource. Check out these cool charts they have. I used to actually make charts just like this last year. I don't know if you recall, but I had some messages with him and I was like, hey, you should make these charts. He made these charts. They're up there. They update automatically. Just a really cool website that has data going all the way back to 2021 MLP. The MLP website, they don't even have that. And this guy has it. So it's awesome. Go check it out. Big fan of all these cool websites that are popping up. So up next is MLP St. Louis, which is probably starting by the time I upload this in just a few hours. So thanks for tuning in here before that. I'm not going to do a preview because, it's already on. Just go watch it. And yeah, that'll do it. Thanks to my sponsor, the Austin Pickle Ranch. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, that'll do it.